I'm Tony Kent, and this is another episode of Tony Kent Writes and Cross-Examines, the weakest, most pathetic attempt at cross-examination you'll see this side of Southend Crown Court, which I think is no longer even open, so it could be even worse than that. Today, I am speaking to SUSI HOLIDAY, who is the best-selling author of 6 crime novels, and who is about to release, well, not about to release, but soon to release, her 7th novel, which is The Last Resort. That's out in November, which doesn't seem like it's soon, but God, I hope we'll get to November quickly because then we'll be out of lockdown. Her other books include Violet, Blackwood, Willow Walk, and The Lingering. SUSI, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming along. It's a pleasure to have anybody on here who's willing to talk to me, because my wife and son don't particularly want to talk to me after 59 days of nothing but me talking at them. So, how are you dealing with the lockdown?
Mostly fine, because I'm quite busy. I've still got a day job and it's pretty busy. So most of the time it kind of feels like things are quite normal, but then until you go outside and realise that everything's shut. But I'm doing all right, yeah.
And your day job, don't mind me saying, I think is involved in medicines and pharmaceuticals and the kind of stuff that's hopefully keeping us all alive.
Well, yeah, I work on clinical trials, so sort of analysing data for new drugs to see whether they work or not. So obviously, I have worked on vaccine trials before in the past, but not at the moment. But yeah, we're really busy because we've just got lots of kind of contingency planning to do at the moment with the situation. So yeah, busier than ever, really.
And I guess that other people who are involved in the vaccine trials, they therefore aren't doing other things, and that means you are. There's a knock-on effect. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting time for everyone, isn't it? I've been speaking to a lot of authors over the last couple of days, just making these videos. Although if anyone asks, they're being made one a day. Just pretend. But I've been speaking to a lot of people over the last 2 days, and what is interesting is because I'm not a full-time author. I'm a full-time criminal barrister, and therefore this isn't something I really thought of until I spoke to Luca Veste, actually. Just how little life has changed for so many authors. You know, a great many people don't seem to be going out anyway. So.
Well, that is true, and I think because I work from home in my day job anyway, so in that way it is similar. But
yeah.
I think the difference is I'm finding it difficult to read, and writing. I always write kind of in bursts anyway, so it just depends what stage I'm at. But I think if I was on a deadline now, I'd be struggling a little bit because it's just I think it's hard to keep your concentration when there's so much other stuff going on. Yeah, that's what a lot of people have been saying.
Well, it's a huge distraction, isn't it? It's like an underlying distraction. You're not necessarily thinking about it all the time, but subconsciously, it's constantly there. I mean, also, your books involve quite a bit of travel, don't they?
They do. So obviously, that's a nightmare that I can't go anywhere to do any research because I kind of build holidays into research holidays now.
Yeah.
And so I'm very lucky that just prior to lockdown, I was in New Zealand for a few weeks because my brother lives out there. So we were over there. And at the end of last year, I was actually in South America because my sister lives over there. So it's almost like I got all those trips squeezed in because I knew that for the rest of this year I wasn't going to go anywhere. So, yeah.
So luckily, if you I'm not sure what your contract is and what you've got coming next after The Last Resort, but whatever's coming next, you've done your prep.
Well, the one that's after The Last Resort is actually partly written because due to various reasons, it was the one that kind of got me the deal that I've got now. And then we decided that would be the second book. So it's partly written and it will be then, I'm sort of working on it again now. So it's sort of strange because it's already planned and stuff. So, and it's the first one for a while that doesn't actually have any travel-based stuff in it. But it does have more of a sort of scientific backgroundy bit. So it's using some of my own experiences anyway, but just not travel-based. But now I've got that whole issue, of course, that everyone's talking about is when do you set your book? Because is it going to be in the middle of this, after this, before this? We don't know what's going to happen yet. So it's kind of a bit of a tricky time about where to set things. I think everyone's having that same conversation.
It is. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? But my books are kind of like alternative universe books, not in a high concept sense, but just I have different presidents and different prime ministers, and therefore, by its very nature, it's not quite the same world. And my first book began with a different Northern Irish peace process. So so I think I'm in a position whereby I can avoid it if I want to. But actually, while I've been sitting writing the fourth book now, it's just found its way in. It's the weirdest thing. It's so all pervading that it found its way in, and completely unintentionally. But it's now a key part of the plot. It's not about COVID-19, but the consequences of what they had to do because of COVID-19 plays a key part in the motivations of some of the characters, and that was absolutely unintentional. But it just, I think it's such a big part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what I'm going to do with the current one is I might actually shift it forward by a year, because it's got a kind of scientific / sci-fi-ish element to it. Again, a bit like Gears, you can kind of have it anywhere because it's kind of a bit alternate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that work, and I think I'm planning to weave in sort of something that has happened, but not kind of really focus on what's happened. So hopefully, it will make sense. I mean, I don't know. It comes out next summer, that one, and then by then we'll know where we are, and either it will make sense or it won't. But I think it won't matter, because it's got that kind of speculative side to it anyway, that you can kind of say, well, that's what I said. But
yeah, no, absolutely. So looking at your books, just so anyone who hasn't read them gets an idea. I keep saying, and I've been saying it again to all the people I've been speaking to, about crime writing being such a ridiculous idea for a genre, because it's far too wide. It's much too wide. If you look at what I write and then you compare it to someone like Val McDermid at the other end of the scale, I mean, they're not the same genre, but we call everything crime writing. Where do your books fall under that particular banner?
Well, again, probably it's a totally different scale from yours and Val's, because mine are a mixture. So my first three were kind of small town procedural / mystery type books, and then I had one that was a serial killer thing, which is completely different. Then I've had one that's a psychological thriller with a bit of sort of supernatural. Then I've had one that's like a real toxic female friendship, classic psychological thriller, which is the last one, Violet, which is set on a train. And then my next two, again, they're psychological thrillers, but they've got a bit of this kind of sci-fi edge. So I like to keep people on their toes by not writing the same book at all, similar to any other books that I've written.
So you're more in the sort of Luca Veste bracket, where God knows what's coming next. Your readers just
But I think it's fine though, because I've had people obviously that have been fans from the start, and then obviously I pick up new readers with every book, and then they go back and read the other ones. And a lot of people do say to me that they really like that all my books are a bit different, but they're still obviously mine. Like, there's still a voice, there's this kind of style that comes from me. And I think even the new one, The Last Resort, is probably the biggest departure, mainly because it's got a kind of cast of characters, like an ensemble cast kind of thing going on, rather than it being just a couple of points of view, which is my normal. So it is a bit different, and it feels a bit different. So I'm interested to hear people's reactions on this one as well, because it was difficult to write compared to the others. But I wanted to try something new, because with every one, I'm just trying to do something a little bit different for me more than anyone else. But hopefully it's because I like to read stuff that's really different, and hopefully that's coming across.
Well, that's an interesting approach, isn't it? Because it's now quite an unusual approach. But something original. If you're reading something original every time from a writer that you trust, it's well worth having a go. So no, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. I haven't read enough of your stuff, I have to admit, to know that it jumped around in quite that way.
That's the thing. If you read one of my books, and whether you liked it or not, you then wouldn't get the same thing again. So so if someone had read one and then I don't really like that, it doesn't mean they wouldn't like the other lot, because they're all
But what we can definitely say is if they like one of them, they'll like them all.
Well, hopefully.
Yes.
I kind of set up, before I even had a book published or had an agent, I kind of got to know people online, and I was going to writing festivals and became part of the community. So I think before I even had my first book out, I had some followers who were really keen on whatever it was that I was writing. I think now that's the same way that I try to chat like that and just kind of keep it general across all my stuff, because and everyone knows I like traveling, and they know that I'm always kind of looking for new ideas when I go somewhere different and stuff. So it's cool.
Well, your most recent book obviously was Violet, which was a smash. I mean, critically massive, wasn't it? There was. I remember when it came out, there were just fantastic reviews left, right, and centre for it. And Violet is basically a two-hander, isn't it? And it's set in the Trans-Siberian Railway.
Yeah, and that was quite intense because I started writing on that train back in 2006. I was actually on that train as part of a round the world trip, and I started writing, but not that book. And then I knew that one day I'd have to write something that was based using that journey, but I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work out. And then when I first started writing it, I had planned that it was going to be in the aftermath of the trip, where someone turns up on someone's doorstep type of story, and then you sort of relive the trip that way. And as I started to write it, it was going fine, but then I thought, no, this needs to be like a live, almost travelogue style book that you're taking the journey with the characters. And then when I started doing it that way, it just kind of unfolded by itself, because I didn't really have, like, I do plan my books usually in quite a lot of detail, but with that one, I knew that Violet was going to do a lot of stuff, but I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. And the journey of it came out along with the trip. So I was quite pleased with it in the end, but it was a bit tricky at the time,
Yeah. Well, it's a huge success, so you should be happy with it.
Yeah.
And then the last resort follows on from that. And is that another book that's got a travel element to it?
It's not so much got a travel element. It's more that people are stuck on an island. So I've been pitching it as And Then There Were None meets Black Mirror with a bit of the famous Five chucked in. So
okay.
You've got all that kind of stuff going on. So you can't even probably imagine what that is. So
no, it's as a description, it's what you're saying. Every book's different.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, fingers crossed it will work out. But I based that on a trip last year we went to the Scilly Isles for a few days, and there's a few uninhabited islands there, and I really wanted to set something there because I just had all these thoughts about kind of historic families and all these kind of things. So so I kind of built all that into it, hopefully. But actually, my agent pointed out to me that it does have parallels to Violet, because at the heart of it is about a toxic friendship. So I think that might be something that is a bit of a theme for some of my books.
Yeah. Any reason for that? Can you think of where the inspiration for that comes from, or it just interests you?
I think it's just something that just kind of is in my life, and not that I've really had any, but it's more something that you experience on the periphery of, and you hear about people talking about other people, and you kind of think you can see how damaging it can be when people behave like that. So I think it's a fascinating area to explore, and how people react under pressure in different situations. And so I think the thing about my books is that it's all about putting people in a pressure cooker and then seeing what happens to make them explode. So I think that is kind of what I've been doing every time.
So sticking to the theme of changing with every book, is there any sort of, again, with that wide banner, is there any particular area of the genre you'd like to explore in the future?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know really. I think no, not anything in particular, because I don't really know even how I come up with things. It's like everyone's like, how do you get your ideas? I don't know, but just things that I come across, and I think I want to explore, but I don't know really. I know with The Last Resort, I wanted to kind of have a group of people rather than two and see what would happen there.
Yeah.
And then with the one after that, which is called Substitute, it's more of a kind of almost like a domestic setup with something really strange that comes in and tips the whole thing on its head. So I think I'm just always finding a new thing naturally, but I think if I had to sit down and think about what I wanted to do, I can't do it. I have to just wait till little nuggets of things kind of come into my mind.
So you need the inspiration rather than the genre.
Yeah, I think so. And then it's about something that comes in, and I think, well, how could I use that? And I had a big idea when I was in New Zealand, so I'm hoping that I can use that on the next book after the next book.
Yeah, and blag another tax-free trip to New Zealand.
Well, so I've already done the research for that one.
There must be somewhere you have to see.
Oh no, there will be hundreds of research trips. That's just have to wait till we get out of lockdown, and I'll be off.
Get the research done while you're here, and then get on the plane. Listen, we've got 15 minutes, and you believe it or not, we've used up 14 and 38 seconds of them. So in order to make sure we can get onto Instagram, we have to stay below 15. So I could keep talking to you all night, but unfortunately, then we won't get this out. So I'm going to have to say goodbye. Thanks very much for coming on, and it's a pleasure to speak to you face to face for once.
You too.
Take care. Bye.